adventure at Kilimanjaro Safaris. Bienvenidos a Kilimanjaro Safaris. Para su seguridad, permanezcan
as we say here in Harambe Twin Day. Let's go. So Jumbo friends, welcome aboard. My name is Rich. I'll be your guide out on the Harambe Wildlife Reserve. If you take a look up, you're going to notice an animal spotting guide. Now those are some of the animals we may see out on the reserve today. Now due to migration habits, I can't guarantee that we're going to see all of those animals, but I usually have some pretty good luck. Now for those of you taking pictures, you might want to put those cameras on a sports or action mode. That is the best way to get a picture of those moving animals. They're probably not going to stop for us. Unfortunately, I won't be able to stop for all of them. Also hang on to those cameras, cell phones, or any other loose items. The warden does not allow us to stop and pick up anything that may fall from the vehicle. If you do happen to drop something from the vehicle, let me know as soon as you can. I'll make a note of where that is, and we will do our very best to retrieve that for you by the end of the day. Now, number one thing I need you to remember while we're on the reserve is please remain seated the entire time. Even if we are sitting perfectly still, I still need you to remain seated for me. Little ones, they can be on laps, but they also need to be fully seated on those laps. You're not Rafiki, they're not Simba. We don't want to see those impressions out on the reserve today. We do go over some really bumpy roads through some pretty heavy brush. Some of those bushes, they do have some long thorns. Now we are just waiting on the warden to give us clearance to head on the reserve, but is this anybody's first time out on the safari? One first timer? All right. There's a couple of you. All right. Carabuni, welcome. All right, very cool. Well, do we have any favorite animals we're looking for today while we're out on the reserve? Lions. Flamingo. Flamingo, that's a good one. Very cool. All right. We'll see if we can find some of those out there. They're all my favorite, so we'll see what we can locate. Well, the first part of the reserve that we're heading into is called the Little Ituri Forest. The Ituri Forest, it is home to some of the reserve's more camouflage animals, so they do blend in really well with their surroundings. Can be a little bit tough to spot sometimes. Keep an eye out. We'll see what we can locate. If you look up to the right-hand side, it's a little bit tough to see just yet, but up there in the corner, now it's going to walk by. That is called an okapi. Now, one of the first things people usually notice about the okapi is the striped pattern they have on their legs and hindquarters. Oftentimes when people see that stripe pattern, they mistake them for a type of zebra, but the okapi, they are not related to the zebra at all. The okapi, it is the closest known relative of the giraffe. Okapi, they are very shy, very reclusive. They are very rarely seen in the forest of Africa. So rarely seen that they were not first discovered by Western civilization until 1901. Just straight ahead of us, across the water, up in that rock wall, that is a black rhino. Black rhino, they are very territorial, so they're mostly going to be solitary. They're going to weigh an average of around 3,000 pounds. Now the black rhino, they have a pointed mouth, or a triangular shaped mouth, and because they spend most of their life living in the forest, the shape of their mouth does help them more easily grab food from bushes and low-hanging trees. Unfortunately, there are only about 5,000 rhinos left in the world today. That is due mostly to poaching. Poachers look for rhino horns because they believe them to be very valuable for medicinal reasons, but really they have no value at all. The rhino horns are made from a protein called keratin, and that is the same exact thing human hair and fingernails are made from. Over here on the left-hand side, just through those bushes, those are called bongo. Bongo are nicknamed the ghost of the forest because they are rarely seen. They do blend in very well with their surroundings. You can kind of tell how well they blend in. They are right next to us and you still can barely see them. Bongo have a set of very heavy sloped back horns. Those horns do help them maneuver more quickly and easily through the thick underbrush of the forest and escape any predators. Over there on the left-hand side, kind of through the bushes, there's a grayish colored antelope. That is called the greater kudu. Greater kudu are the second largest type of antelope. There's another one a little bit easier to see. And the next part of the reserve we're heading into is called the Safi River. The Safi River, it can be home to the Nile hippopotamus and the Nile crocodile. Now keep a sharp eye out towards the waters up ahead. Sometimes the hippopotamus can be a little bit tough to see during the day. They do spend most of the day standing at the bottom of the riverbed. The hippo can hold their breath for about 8 minutes. So you might see them stick their nose out for a moment here and there to grab a quick breath. There is one just over here on the right. They're going to stick their nose out to grab a quick breath, but then usually they're going to head right back down to the bottom. Unless, of course, they are eating. Despite the fact that a hippopotamus spends 20 hours a day in the water, they still do not swim. Instead, they are going to be spending most of that time just walking along the bottom of the riverbed. A group of hippo is known as a bloat. When a hippo calf is first born, they are going to weigh between 85 and 100 pounds. Pretty big baby. Once they reach adulthood, they're going to get between 4,000 and 5,000 pounds. There is one out of the water a little ways up ahead. These large white birds over here on the left-hand side, those are called pink-backed pelicans. They are named for the pinkish coloration they're going to get on their back, but it really only shows up during mating season. One of my favorite things about a hippopotamus is the sound that they make. There's a young hippo just over here on the left as well. Hippo kind of make a snorting or a honking sound, and that sound is called a wheeze honk. Every individual hippo has their own version of a wheeze honk. It is like their own voice, and they do recognize each other individually just from that sound. Just over here to the left-hand side are some Nile crocodile. Nile crocodile are Africa's largest crocodile. They're going to get between 16 to 20 feet long, weigh an average of 500 pounds. They can eat half of their body weight in any one feeding, but they're only going to need to eat that much food once a week. They can even go several weeks without eating anything at all if food or prey is scarce in that area. Let's get away from those crocodile. In just a few moments, we're going to be heading into the largest part of the reserve, and that is the savanna. The savanna kind of works like a superhighway across Africa for many of the migrating herds, and it can be home to elephant, one of my personal favorites, the giraffe. The large tree up ahead to the right, it is called a baobab tree. Baobab trees are nicknamed the upside down tree. Pretty clear to see why. Those trees, they can survive several seasons of drought by storing water inside of their large trunks. They will go 9 to 10 months out of the year completely leafless. Just another way they do conserve water. Now up ahead, I think this is one of the best views on the entire reserve because you can see most of the savanna. It is a part of the Serengeti Plains known as the Serengeti Grasslands. Now when you come down the bottom of the hill, if you look over to the right, kind of through the pathway, for just a moment you're going to see a grayish colored animal. That is a white-bearded wildebeest. Wildebeest, they are going to migrate every single year across Africa between 500 and 1,000 miles in herds of anywhere from 1 million to 1.5 million wildebeest. Those herds, they are so large that when they migrate, they're going to kick up a lot of dust. Those dust clouds can't be seen from space. And just over here on the left-hand side, those are African wild dog. I'm going to pull up a little bit so we can get a little bit better look. African wild dog, they are also called the painted dog for the painted-looking pattern they have on their fur. They are considered to be Africa's most successful predator, even more so than big cats. That's because of their ability to run long distances at fairly high rates of speed, so they do run their prey into complete exhaustion. African wild dog, they are not going to bark. They make more of a chirping sound like a bird. Every pack of wild dogs is going to have 2 alphas, 1 alpha male and 1 alpha female. Over there on the left-hand side, those antelope are called sable antelope. Sable antelope are the emblem of the Harambe Wildlife Reserve. Those curved-back horns do protect them from any predators that may try to jump up onto their backs while those predators are out hunting. These large mounds on the left-hand side, those are termite mounds. Termite mounds are made from dirt, saliva, and dung. They will harden out in the sun and they'll get as hard as concrete. And you might see an elephant or a giraffe using them as a scratching post. I'm looking at the tree line around us, and there's got to be some giraffe pretty close by. You usually can tell because that bottom of the tree line has a level line of leaves. Those lowest hanging leaves, they're going to be at the highest point that the tallest giraffe can reach. Another view of the white-bearded wildebeest over here on the right-hand side. Wildebeest are also known as the gnu because they kind of make a low grunting sound that sounds like gnu. At night when wildebeest lay down, they are going to lay down in rows. And the reason they do that is if they spot or sense a predator approaching, they are all able to stand up and start running at exactly the same time. Wildebeest, they are going to give birth during or in the morning or during midday, and they do that so those young wildebeest are already strong enough to walk or run on their own by the time nightfall arrives. And that's usually when predators are more active. Straight up ahead of us, underneath those palm trees, you can kind of see some horns sticking up. Those belong to a Coley Cattle. And Coley Cattle are also called Watusi cattle for the Watusi tribe that first domesticated them. Those horns are going to get 4 to 6 feet long. There is one right there where we can see it. Those horns get 4 to 6 feet long, but they're almost completely hollow. They kind of have a honeycomb shape inside of them. Their blood does flow through their horns. When it flows through their horns, it's going to cool down and then flows back down through their body. It looks like there's some giraffe just up ahead of us. These giraffe, they are a part of a herd. A herd of giraffe is known as a tower. Pretty easy to remember because giraffe, they are going to tower above us all. These giraffe, they have a jagged, uneven pattern to their spots, and that is unique to the Masai giraffe. So they are part of a tower of Masai giraffe. Not surprising to see a giraffe eating. They are going to spend 12 to 16 hours a day eating. Doesn't sound like too much to me at all, honestly. But giraffe, they do have a system of 4 stomachs that are going to help them digest all of that food. They may spend a lot of time eating, but giraffe, they are not going to spend very much time sleeping. From time to time, you might see giraffes standing around, kind of staring off in the distance, almost like they're daydreaming. That is some light rest giraffe take throughout the day. But really, they only need 15 to 30 minutes a day of sleep. Now, these knockdown trees up ahead could be a good sign that some elephant have been through this area. So we might be entering elephant country. There's an elephant up there to the right-hand side. Now, usually if you see an elephant by itself, it's most likely going to be a male. That is because at adolescence, male elephants, they are going to leave the rest of the herd and they're going to go out and form their own bachelorhood. On a hot day like today, you'll see an elephant flapping their ears. That helps keep them nice and cool. Those ears really just work like gigantic fans. Believe it or not, elephants, they also have very sensitive skin. So another thing you're going to see them doing on a hot day is tossing dirt and mud, maybe some water up under their backs. And that does help protect them from any excessive sunlight, insects, or parasites. So they kind of make their own natural sunscreen or insect repellent. Now folks, I know this bridge up ahead looks a little bit ominous and rickety, but no worries. I have been told the warden put some new duct tape on there this morning, so we should be all right. We're going to take it very slowly, or pole as they say in Swahili. Feels pretty sturdy to me. I think we're going to be fine. Hakuna Matata, let's get out of here. Now we are going through some red clay pits. It looks like there's some elephant tusk marks in that clay. Elephants, they do like to eat red clay for the minerals inside of it. I kind of like to think of it like those elephants are taking a daily vitamin. One threat that elephants face in Africa is a threat from local farmers. Those farmers, they are just trying to make a living by growing their crops. But sometimes when elephants get hungry, they're going to get into those crops and they're going to devour and destroy everything. Obviously, it doesn't make those farmers very happy. It makes it tough for them to make a living. And it does create a threat to the elephants when they try to protect those crops. But through the years, it has been learned that elephants, they are very afraid of bees. So farmers, they've started putting beehives on their fences that surround their crops, building something known as a beehive fence. Now, when elephants are out and about looking for food, they are going to hear those bees swarming, and they're going to turn around and go find food somewhere else. Kind of a win-win situation. Those crops are saved. The bees, they're going to help pollinate the crops. The elephants are no longer threatened, and those farmers might get some much-needed honey out of that deal, too. One reason why something gigantic like an elephant might be afraid of a tiny little bee, they are scared of those bees flying into their trunks and stinging them that way. An elephant's trunk, it is really sensitive but also very strong. Their trunks are made up of an estimated 50,000 different muscles. Just over here to the left-hand side, those are greater flamingo. You can see a few elephants out there to the left too. A group of flamingo is known as a flamboyance. And the greater flamingo, it is the largest type of flamingo. They stand an average of 5 feet tall. But they also have the lightest shade of pink of any type of flamingo. Now when a flamingo first hatches, they are gray. And then they get their pinkish coloration from their diet, which consists mostly of brine shrimp. And they get beta carotene from that brine shrimp. Brine shrimp, they are very small. You're going to see flamingo filtering through that sand and water looking for those very small brine shrimp. These mud pits up ahead, that could be a good sign that some rhino have been through the area. In fact, there are some white rhino over by those palm trees to the left. Rhinos, they do like to roll around in the mud to keep themselves nice and cool, and helps protect their skin. Now, those are white rhino. White rhino are quite a bit larger and more social than the black rhino we saw earlier. They are going to weigh an average of around 5,000 pounds, and they spend most of their time in a herd. The herd of rhino is known as a crash. White rhino, they are not really white. That is a mispronunciation of the Afrikaans word white, which means wide or broad. The white rhino has a wide mouth, makes it easier for grazing the grasslands of the savanna. Over here to the right-hand side, laying down in the track there, those are called bontebok. Now, at one point, there were only 17 bontebok left in the entire world. Bontebok, they are not very fast. They are not great jumpers. Honestly, not that great at taking care of themselves. Farmers in Africa, they started to notice that they were not seeing bontebok very often. So they built some pens to protect those remaining bontebok. And today, because of that, they are thriving in the thousands. Since those rhino are sleeping right now, feel pretty comfortable in telling you that a rhino, they can charge at speeds of around 35 miles per hour. In case anybody was wondering, this truck, it'll go 8 miles per hour. There is a cheetah in the back left corner, back in the shadows. Cheetah, they are the world's fastest land animal. They're going to run between 60 and 70 miles per hour, but they only run 200 to 300 yards at that kind of speed. It does take a lot of energy to go that fast. Cheetah, they are the largest of the small cats, and the difference between a small cat and a big cat can roar. A cheetah, they are the largest purring cat, so they are going to purr like a house cat. The large rock formation up ahead of us, that is called a kopie. A lot of different predators, including lions, are going to use the kopie to overlook the savanna to try to spot any surrounding prey. Might be a little bit too warm right now for anything to be up on the kopie. Another white rhino over there to the right-hand side. That's an ostrich off in the distance. Ostrich, they are the world's largest bird. They're going to weigh an average of 300 pounds. An ostrich is flightless, but their wings do have a purpose. An ostrich can run between 35 and 40 miles per hour. And because they run on 2 legs, they are going to use their wings to maintain balance and change directions while they're running. These burrows up ahead of us, they do belong to Warthog. Warthog are the largest burrowing animal. Now if you look kind of towards the back amongst the rocks, there are some warthog back that way. Now usually a warthog is not going to dig their own burrow. They are going to let another animal do that for them, and then they're going to take that burrow for themselves. Pumbaa does not mean warthog. It really means foolish one, but not really the best description of a warthog. A warthog is very intelligent. Some ostrich eggs over there on the grass to the right. Ostrich eggs, they are very strong. An adult human could stand on an ostrich egg and it would not crack at all. But they do have to be able to support the weight of a 300-pound ostrich. There is an ostrich up here to the right-hand side. That is a female. I can tell by the color of its feathers. Females, they have a light grayish color to their feathers. Males will be a lot darker in color. The next part of the reserve we're heading into is called the Magadi Glen. Magadi is Swahili for hot springs. If you look down the pathway to the right through the trees, it's really hard to see. There's a white and tan animal back there. That is called a Scimitar horned Oryx. A scimitar is a long, curved, Middle Eastern style sword, and they are named because their horns are shaped very similar to that type of sword. The Scimitar horned Oryx was thought to be extinct in the 1980s, but it was discovered that they were surviving under human care. Now today they are thriving under human care. In fact, they are doing so well that they were able to release a herd into the wild in northern Africa, and that herd has seen a lot of success. Now it does look like our safari is coming to a close, but I do like to leave you with a couple conservation messages. The Harambe Reserve is partnering with Disney for the Disney Conservation Fund and the Lion Recovery Fund. The Disney Conservation Fund, it does help protect reserves all over Africa, and the Lion Recovery Fund, it is working to double the lion population from 20,000 to 40,000 by the year 2050 by using conservation and breeding efforts. Now, if you're looking to help the African wilderness from home, you should recycle any old electronics or cell phones. A lot of those items are made from a mineral ore called coltan, and that is mined very heavily here in Africa. When you recycle those items, it cuts down on excessive mining, and it helps protect the African wilderness that we all love. If you enjoyed those animals you saw out on the reserve today, then you should head over to the Gorilla Falls Exploration Trail. It's about a 15 to 20 minute walking trail just out of our exit up the hill to the right. Over there you might see gorillas, the naked mole rat, meerkat, and zebra. And in fact, there is a baby gorilla that was born just over 4 months ago, so you might see her while you're out on that trail too. Now we are just waiting on the warden to give us clearance to head on in, so if you want to go ahead, check those roads, check your surroundings. I don't want you to leave anything behind. It is a really long walk all the way back here to Africa. Now folks, here in Harambe, we never like to say goodbye. It is far too sad, far too final. We want to see you back here again really soon. So instead we use the Swahili word kwaherini, which means go well. So kwaherini, go well, go wild, and enjoy whatever adventures may lay ahead of you here in Harambe.
Everybody watch your fingers, please. Doors are opening.
Asante Sana does mean thank you, so Asante Sana, friends, have a great rest of your day. Kwaherini, go well, go